Yes. Okay, perfect. Networking 101. Welcome. All right. Okay, so just some introductions. I think it's kind of nice and fun to get to know who is presenting to you today, who are the pros. Um, Feels funny to call myself a pro, but that's the name of the series. So Prep with the Pro. This is just a little bit of like personally who I am, and then we'll talk obviously a lot about Elevo and how we network in our current jobs. So my name is Megan Schuck. I'm the director of University Partnerships and Sourcing. Just some things that I identify with that make me more than just my job is I'm a mom. I have a 2, 4, and 5-year-old, so I'm super busy. It's like happy, fun chaos in my house at all times. I'm a professional, so I have been working for many years and I love my job. I love what I do. I've always been in education, and I consider myself an educator. I started out as an elementary school teacher and worked my way. I worked in colleges a lot and with people typically your ages. And I love being a mentor to my friends, to students I work with. I am a native Californian. I have lived in lots of different countries and states, but I always find my way back to California. So I'm currently in San Diego. I've been here for 10 plus years, but I grew up in the Bay Area. And as Diana mentioned, I am a very proud gaucho. So I also lived in Santa Barbara for a little bit. World traveling, yes, I lived in other countries, but I just love to travel. I take my little kiddos all over the world as much as I can. Running is my alone me time. I have to run every week, or else I start to get a little shaky. And I love food. I can't cook at all, but if you are a good cook or if there's a good restaurant, I will happily eat it. It makes me very happy. So that's a little bit about who I am, and I'll pass it over to Oscar.
Thanks, Meg. Hi, everyone. My name is Oscar Fuentes. I'm a sourcing specialist for Elevo within the Inland Empire. I'm so happy to be here. So thank you guys for allowing us to be here today. I'm a brother. I'm the eldest of the family. Also a cat dad, waiting for that cat distribution system to come to me again. My parents took my cats, so they just loved them so much. So now it's time to get another one for myself. But I'm a colleague, car enthusiast. I grew up with it. My dad's a mechanic, so he runs his own shop now. So grew up around cars my whole life. I love him, go to car shows, help him out with his cars when he needs it. Very active, love to go on walks and hikes. Definitely trying to find more hiking spots. I'm here in Southern California, so Riverside area. So if you guys know of any great hiking locations, you can let me know. Definitely looking to expand my horizons with that. But also a very avid festival goer, try to expand my horizons with that as well, whether it's country, rock, any kind of just going out, any kind of festivities like that I love. And then finally, I'm a really big collector. I love cards like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, stuff like that, sports cards as well. That's really my passion. So yeah, absolutely. That's me in a nutshell. Again, thank you guys for having me here.
Thanks, Oscar. So it's kind of fun to like think about some things that you identify with. This is like a really big part of networking. It's really about connecting with other people. So oftentimes some of these big bullet points that I have here that I think about are like take up a lot of my pie. It's how I find connections with other people, whether I'm professionally networking or just in my personal life. So I'm sure if we could have individual conversations with all of you, we would be able to find some type of connection between each of you. Thank you, Oscar, for your intro as well. All right, so I left my favorite part of my identity right now is I am a very proud gaucho. I graduated a long time ago, maybe when some of you were just born in 2002. This is me moving in. These are pictures of pictures because, as I just mentioned, I graduated in 2002. Moving into my first dorm room on campus. So there's me with all my boxes, and then again, a picture of a picture when I graduated in 2002. So I promise you, I've been graduated for, I guess, 23 years. That sounds really strange to me, but when I see people wearing gaucho shirts or license plates or hats, I call it out. We're walking on the street and there's just a connection. I think that, I'm sure there's a lot of wonderful colleges out there, but I have one experience of my undergraduate education, and that is UC Santa Barbara. And I just think it creates wonderful, great, awesome people. So I'm happy to be talking to more gauchos today. So, just some of my gaucho history in those 4 years. So, as I mentioned, I was a communications major. I lived on campus my first year. I studied abroad my senior year. I worked at the Irish pub downtown at Dargan's for many years in a little boutique. I also worked at a market in IV. I think it might have a new name now, but it's one of those markets. And I did an internship at a radio station when I was a sophomore. So, I really have made lifelong friends while gaining an amazing education. I still, every couple years meet up with some of my college friends. So it's wonderful. So that is me and my gaucho love. All right. So we will start out with, we'll talk a little bit more about Elevo after the networking presentation. But Elevo is an education company. We work with children, kindergarten to 8th grade, but we have a strong curriculum. And one of the things that we do with our students is we have 5 core practices, and one of them is a warm welcome. So we just wanted to like incorporate Elevo in with this. Diana actually already did it a little bit. By just asking you some questions in the chat when we started, just to like kind of create a safe space. So Oscar, this is Oscar's favorite question, so I'll let him ask it.
Yeah, thank you. So, does pineapple belong on pizza? Why or why not? I feel like you can get to know a lot about a person about this with this question. I don't know why.
Yeah, so you can just put it in the chat if you want. I will answer mine is I've always been an advocate for pineapple on pizza, and now even more so because it's like one of the ways I can get my kids to eat fruit. So they like pineapple on pizza as well. Oh, look at all.
There's a lot of yeses. Wow. Absolutely not. No. I don't mind it. I probably would never order it myself, but like if I was showing up at a party or a get together and they had it, I'd have some. Not my favorite. Yes, it's tasty. Okay, awesome.
It is good. My husband does not like pineapple, so we have a little battle whenever we order pizza, which is often.
No,
No, because that's what the reason why my husband doesn't like it. He's like no to anything salty and sweet at the same time. All right. All right, so let's jump into our agenda. We have 5 sections, I would say 6 actually, because we'll talk a little bit about what we do at Elevo at the end of this. But we're going to first go over the overview of networking, and then I'm going to pass it over to Oscar, who's going to talk a little bit about networking in person. I will share with you some tips and tricks for networking online, and then just some conversations around what you can do moving forward, and then question and answer. And then we'll talk to you about Elevo and what it is we do. So before I start, I will just give you kind of an overview of Oscar and I work in like the university partnerships and sourcing department. So we network every day. It's actually like the main thing that we are supposed to do. Our team does all the time. We make partnerships with universities and colleges, and we are sourcing applicants, sourcing college kids many times, college students, excuse me, to work at Elevo. We hire a lot, 2,500 part-time coaches and teachers across the state of California. So our job is to connect with community-based organizations, with universities and colleges. So we love networking. We're excited to network with you. After this, I hope you all find Oscar and I on LinkedIn and add us, and we will be connected and we can start networking with each other. All right, so what is networking? I think that networking sometimes has an image of just like a bunch of people in a room making small talk. And if you will, I guess that could be something that networking is, but networking is a lot more. It might look like that sometimes. It might look like a career fair. I heard there's one on Thursday that you should all attend if you can. But really, the bigger idea of it is, I will read the definition, but it's the concept of building relationships with people. And it's the exchange of information back and forth, finding connections with people. So it's the exchange of information or services among individuals, groups, or institutions, specifically the cultivation of productive relationships for employment or business. So that's a key word in there, like productive relationships. Like small talk, it's important, right? If you're chatting with someone, on the airplane, sometimes you want to make small talk. Sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to make small talk. I hope this person doesn't make small talk with me. But basically, small talk turns into networking if you think about it as how can I make this a productive exchange of information and relationship between each other? Like, what can I provide to help the person I'm talking to, and vice versa? All right. Sorry. All right. So, what are the benefits of networking? It's important to like know why do you want to network? Like, okay, I just need to like make connections with someone. Like, why would I want to do this? What is the purpose behind it? So there's lots of reasons. Acquire industry knowledge. So I would say this is a huge reason, especially for early talent, for specifically many of you who are in the very beginning of your professional career, is to gain information on different careers, different jobs you can have, different positions within a career. I can say I would say I am a student affairs professional. I'm not exactly in that role right now, but the bulk of my career, I was similar to what Diana did, and I worked on college campuses. And when I was in college, I didn't even know that was a career. So I think I didn't network a lot in college. I wish I did more. But just learning about what there is out there. Like we all know you could be a doctor or a scientist or an engineer, but there's so many more opportunities out there. Elevating your online presence. That's huge nowadays, obviously, with LinkedIn and other formats. Building connections and friendships and mentorships. So I've been asked a lot, like, how do I get a mentor? And honestly, oftentimes they happen organically. There's a lot of programs out there and ways that you can sign up to have a mentor, but oftentimes by networking, you organically find a mentee or find a mentor. And then my favorite, and I can personally say this has like led my 25 years of my career, is discover hidden job opportunities. So employers like hiring people they're familiar with directly or indirectly. Many jobs are found through some form of networking, which is the hidden job market. Employee referrals are huge. So when I think back at my career, I've had a lot of little jobs, especially in my early part of my career in college. I mentioned a couple of them. I've worked a long time, but there's some big key moments in these 2 decades that I've had and working, and they are all connected with each other. So I'm going to just give a little short snippet story just to highlight the key, how important networking is when I didn't even realize sometimes I was networking. So I lived in Chile, South America, and taught right after Santa Barbara for 3 years. So I love South America. I love Chile. And I went back to grad school in New York City. I wasn't looking for a job. I was studying to be a student affairs professional, specifically working with international students. And through one of my classes, I met someone that worked with Fulbright. And there was a job opening to specifically lead 200 Chilean Fulbrighters. And she was like, I have a job for you after like 3 classes. And I didn't want a job. I was like, I'm back in grad school. I want to be a grad student. I want to take naps during the day. I don't want a job. But I couldn't say no to it because it was exactly what I wanted. So I didn't even search to find that job. I wasn't even looking for that job. So then I worked at Fulbright for a couple years. And in that job, I used to send Fulbright scholars to many colleges around the US, one of them being UC San Diego. So then, as a native Californian, I decided I want to move back to California. What did I do? I contacted my connections at UC San Diego, who I used to work with jointly in the Fulbright program. And then I ended up working in that office for over 10 years. So that got me there. And then I can go on and on, but I went to Nicaragua because of a connection I had with Fulbright. And my current job right now is I knew someone that worked at this job. And this position that I'm in right now opened up. And again, I wasn't necessarily looking for a job. She reached out to me and said, I think you'd be perfect for this job. So I think I love looking back at my career path. It's not exactly where I thought I was going to go, but everything has a connection and a dot. All right. So who should you network with? Everyone. Like I said, on the airplane, maybe you don't want to talk to somebody on that 5-hour flight, and that's fine. But if you're awake, you never know who you're going to end up talking to and where that connection is going to go. Oscar and I always talk about this in our job, is that, Oscar might be at a career fair and he doesn't know what professor is going to come up and talk to him, and like they might find something in common, or maybe that professor the next week is doing a segment on, networking, for example, and maybe we'll invite Oscar into the class to present to their students. So really everyone, you can start obviously with relatives, professors, your friends, um, supervisors. There's a lot of professional organizations, alumni. I heard there's a great alumni network at Santa Barbara. And then after that, obviously, we're going to talk a lot about just like the professional resources such as LinkedIn and career fairs and other professional associations. So where does networking happen? We talked a little bit about this in person and online. Um, I can say that in our role right now, like both are incredibly valuable in combination with each other. Of course, post 2020, a lot of things are more online, and that's a great way to connect with people. It's often sometimes financially like cheaper. You're doing it from your home office or your desk at home. And you can do it quickly. You can connect with a lot of people in a lot of ways quickly. But then, of course, there's a lot of opportunities in person. And there is definitely, as we all know, just like that different type of connection that you can make with someone when you're in person instead of online. So, in person tips, share your enthusiasm. Oscar will go into this in a little bit more, but dress professional or whatever the dress code is for that event. And just be yourself. I always say this, you know, you can't go wrong by being yourself at all. So you will connect with people and network by being your true, authentic self. And then online tips, create a filled out presence, use a professional photo, and then always use good spelling and grammar, which thankfully I've always said I'm really great at some things like parallel parking and networking, but I've never been good at spelling. So we obviously have a lot of resources at our fingertips to make sure that our online presence has good spelling and grammar. All right, and I pass it over to you, Oscar.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Meg. So we're going to go over networking in person. If you want to go to the next slide. Yeah, so here are some great, examples of networking events. Like Meg touched a little bit upon, that's what we do. We go to different events, we network, that's what we do there at Elevo. We have different relationships with colleges, different community entities, whether it's the city, workforce development boards, chambers of commerce. These are all great resources to use and utilize, right? So my favorite is always career fairs and mixers. Shout out to the one going on this Thursday. Highly recommend you guys go visit that. We go to all the different career fairs within, colleges, universities. Always amazing turnouts. We're always seeing hundreds of students come out, and then about, 60 to 90 different employers. So you have a great opportunity to talk to a wide variety of different employers, different career paths. Maybe you find something you didn't even know you liked. You find a passion that you didn't know was there. So highly recommend you guys go to those. Another great opportunity is employer information sessions. Usually career fair or career centers will definitely have opportunities like that you can take advantage, such as this one. Parties and social gatherings. So this is something that you wouldn't really think is a great opportunity to, network, but I still have friends that I'm in contact with from UC Davis where I graduated. So not quite a gaucho, but part of the UC system still. But, to this day, I have that connection, right? And so if I have any kind of questions about, different opportunities or, what they're doing in their career path or how something is affecting them, I can always reach out to them. I have that network that, I can fall back on, so that's always something you want to take advantage of, excuse me. Conferences, classrooms, usually classrooms will maybe host an employer for different opportunities. You want to make sure you can always check that out. Student organization meetings and other UCSB events. Definitely make sure you check online, right? Because you never know what you'll find. Just Google Santa Barbara, excuse me, and then you can see all the different events going on, whether it's within UCSB, whether it's a local chambers of commerce, whether it's your city, or maybe just, some kind of employers hosting a get together to kind of push out some kind of opportunity they have. But we can go ahead and go on to the next slide. So let's go over some recommended attire. It definitely varies depending on what kind of event you're going to. So you definitely want to check with those event coordinators for those specific guidelines, right? Usually that'll be a part of an email or a phone number, whether or not you got that through an email blast. You can always keep an eye out for that. but here's some examples of business professional attire and business casual attire. I know it can be a little more confusing for a man. I always got confused between business casual and business professional, but usually don't need a tie for business casual, and you can just go either slacks and a button up. Sometimes you can even wear jeans, get away with it, a nice pair of slacks, or nothing with holes or no shorts. Those are the two big ones, guys. But we can go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, so next what you want to do is maybe create like a 30 to 60-second introduction and 3 steps, right? So keep this in mind, who you are. What do you want to tell these employers? What do you have in common with them? Maybe talk about different, interests you may have. And then why are you reaching out to them? It's a great way to, strike up a conversation. Maybe they like sports. You can have a 5-minute conversation on sports, and then you have an in with them, and you can go on and move on to that opportunity that you're trying to get a hold of. We can go ahead and go on to the next slide. And then physical greetings. So make sure to smile and wave. Try to be as friendly and approachable as possible. Here's a new one, elbow bump, post 2020 COVID. My experience, I've had a few elbow bumps. People, they like to greet you in certain ways. Maybe some people aren't necessarily wanting to shake hands, the traditional way. So I've had fist bumps, elbow bumps, friendly nod, friendly wave. So just be prepared to adjust, to what that employer or what that person is, trying to what they're comfortable with more so. We can go to the next slide, and I'll pass that back over to you, Meg. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Oscar. And I can share that when I interviewed Oscar, I actually, there's a lot of people interviewing for the position he's been in for almost a year. And he was like sharp. He had a business professional, it was on Zoom, but so his shirt, like I honestly noticed that. Like I noticed his whole demeanor was very professional. And in the role that he's in, you have to be like on it. So it was like a perfect scenario for exactly what I was looking for. And obviously he was very qualified as well, but like I knew he would be able to network and connect with like all sorts of constituents.
Thank you, Meg.
You're welcome. All right. So, where to network online. So, we've talked a little bit about like virtual recruiting events. So, obviously, career fairs can also be online, but there's information sessions as well. I know down at the bottom it says platforms like Handshake and LinkedIn. So, our team actually does a lot of information sessions via Handshake. We love Handshake over here at Elevo. So, I'm sure that other employers as well. Will provide opportunities to do information sessions as well, maybe not even necessarily directly through UC Santa Barbara. And then professional associations, forums, online events, and then, of course, LinkedIn. So online event tips. So test run your technology to make sure it's working beforehand. So Oscar, Diana, and myself did this before this session. We met 15 minutes beforehand. We were testing it out. Let's hope it works, right? It doesn't always completely work, but we'll cross our fingers. Be camera ready. And then obviously the joke, at least from the waist up. And then research the companies and be ready to ask questions. So if you are joining like an information session that an employer is having, do your research beforehand, go on their website, read what their mission is, figure out, what types of roles might be actually open in that moment, and then have a digital copy of your resume ready to share. So I'm sure most of you have your resume in a digital form as well. And then we're going to do the next couple slides mostly on LinkedIn, but I think that these practices could actually translate to many types of online platforms like Handshake and other various tools that exist to look for and find jobs. So we'll focus on LinkedIn, but know that these can be across all different types of technology resources. So the first one is make sure it's 100% complete. So there's a statistic out there that's 40 times more opportunities for people that have their LinkedIn profile completely complete. I would say completely complete. That's how many times am I going to say complete? But I didn't have mine fully filled out for a while. I just, I wasn't really looking for a job. I think I went through my job search maybe a couple years ago. And when I really dug in to like make sure that my online profile was what I wanted it to be, there's so many different sections in LinkedIn. Like, what are your passions? What are your interests? All of your jobs. And I will say, at one point I applied to a job to work at Airbnb corporate headquarters. And I've been actually on a side job, an Airbnb host for, 13 years of my life. And I never thought about putting that on my LinkedIn until I was actually applying to Airbnb corporate. And I was like, I should actually have that no matter where I'm applying, because that is a skill that I have. Like, I've done that for over a decade and I'm really good at it. So why don't I highlight that? So think outside the box as well. Um, and then this leads right into you're more experienced than you think. Think broadly about all of your experiences, including summer jobs, unpaid internships, that Airbnb hosting, volunteer work, student organization. So if you're in a student organization, a fraternity, a sorority, other types of organizations, and you've held some type of leadership role, or maybe you were just in charge of one specific event that was like a big event. Maybe you're not always this role, but you were the lead coordinator for X event, like put that on your LinkedIn right now, especially as you're building up your experiences. Um, Number three, use your inbox. So networking doesn't mean reaching out to cold strangers. Start building your LinkedIn network by uploading your online address book from your email account. So I would say, maybe not just all of your online email addresses, but sometimes you're like, who could I network with? Go back to your email box, see if there was a professor that you met once, or maybe a student in a class that you shared an email with, like connect with them, and you can write a short little message. We were in X class together and did this project. I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. One of the things that I do almost always now is when I'm, in my work, or even not in my work, but typically professionally, when I meet with someone that I haven't met before, I almost always try to add them on LinkedIn, because again, you never know where those connections are going to lead. Maybe in 5 years, I'm looking for another job and that person posts on their LinkedIn that there's a job opening. Like, I now would never have seen that unless I connected with them during that one time I met them. Get personal as you build your connections. Customize your requests with friendly note. If necessary, like I just mentioned, you could remind them where you met. Join the in crowd. So LinkedIn groups can help you form new connections. Start with school groups. If you are in some type of school organization, there might be a LinkedIn group for it, or just shared hobbies, professional hobbies that I saw. There was a lot of engineers that in this room right here. I'm sure there's a lot of engineer groups on LinkedIn. And then number six, lend a virtual hand. So as you build your connections, think about how you can support others. This is like an algorithm, right? So comment on a classmate's status, reshare something. We do that within our department at Elevo. The other day I asked, we were having a hiring event down in Los Angeles, and I said, Oscar, will you post the flyer for the hiring event? He did. And then I asked everyone on our team to reshare his post. So it's just a way of, getting more tentacles out there. Update your status early and often. Networking isn't just about who you know, it's about who knows you. Stay on your network's radar by updating your LinkedIn status regularly, what you're reading, working on. I think there's actually some LinkedIn courses you can take on like just what types of things you should post on LinkedIn. But I think by actively being on LinkedIn, you can see different types of things people are posting on, right? It's like Oscar and I use LinkedIn in a professional sense because that's part of our job, but you can also just post thoughts that you have about your professional experience or what you're interested in. It starts conversations. Request informational interviews. So as a student, don't ask professional contacts for a job. Instead, you can ask them for a brief phone conversation or a coffee chat. And I would say I did this a lot in my last job search, is that I would see that jobs were open at a certain company, and then I'd look, you can find out who works there. And then I was looking to see if I had any mutual connections. And so I would reach out to that person and I'd just be like, hi, I see that we have a mutual friend in common. I'm interested in learning more about your company. I'd love to have a quick conversation. And I think I had about 4 or 5 of those informational interviews. And in them, I didn't actually say, I'm going to apply for this job. Or maybe there wasn't a job open at that moment, but once there was, I'd already made that connection and I was able to reach back out to them and say, hi, I just want to let you know I'm applying for this job. It's so great to meet you. a couple months ago. Do you have any like tips or tricks on like what I should like highlight in my resume? And many times companies have like internal referral um, processes. Ours does as well. And so many times if we had a good conversation, they'd be able to say, yeah, let me know when you apply and I'll put in an internal referral for you. And then do your homework before the informational interview. Just go over their website, their LinkedIn page, and just learn as much as you can about them. Um, all right, so invite Aaron to connect on LinkedIn. So this is just how, like a sample message that you could quickly write to someone that maybe you don't know, but you'd like to be able to have an informational interview with. So it's great meeting you at UCSB's alumni reception. I'd love to connect on LinkedIn and meet with you for coffee, sometimes to chat about your career path as a graphic designer. So just like people like to talk about themselves. I think I always say this to people on my team is like asking questions like is so great. Like if someone comes up to you and be like, I'd love to learn more about you. You seem so interesting. Like people typically like to talk about themselves. So like remember that when you're asking for informational interviews, oftentimes people are like, sure, I'd love to tell you my life story. And if you can get any insight from inspiration from that conversation, that's wonderful. All right. So moving forward, passing it back to you, Oscar.
Thanks, Meg. So yeah, moving forward, we could talk about some excitements and fears. I mean, that's totally normal when it comes to networking, right? I'm gonna ask a question. So if you guys would like to put your answers in the chat, that'd be awesome. So my first question is, I guess, what makes you most nervous about networking, right? What do you find the most nerve-wracking when it comes to that part? And give it a few. If you guys want to type your answers in the chat. Speaking to a stranger, the competition, talking to new people, no more topic to chat, knowing what to talk about, standing out. Yeah, not knowing what to say. Absolutely. And, those are all completely valid, not knowing how to conversation, finding things to talk about, presenting myself correctly in a short time frame. Yeah, those are all completely valid. I think, that speaks to that practice component, right? Practice makes perfect. The more events you go to, the more career fairs, not only will you see others doing the same things that you're doing, so you can mimic if you find yourself, not knowing what to wear or how to approach or, how to present yourself. That's a great way. You can kind of just people watch and see how others are approaching, the employers. But no, absolutely. I think that's something, a skill that develops over time. The more that you talk to people, especially strangers, the more comfortable you'll find yourself being. But yeah, great answers, guys. Another question is, I guess what makes you most excited? Is there something, an excitement component to it? Maybe getting a new job, maybe do you like meeting new people? But what's something that really excites you when it comes to networking? Making a genuine connection, finding a job. Yeah. You can even find friends. You never know. But learning about other people, finding common interest connections. Yeah. Finding a connection. Yeah. And, like going back to just feeling nervous about meeting strangers. I know I felt like that initially, but now when I go up to someone, I feel like, what am I going to get to learn? Maybe will they teach me something? Will we have something in common and have this deep conversation? I always find that really fascinating. Learning from employers, finding potential internship, possibility of learning something new, meeting new people, finding discrete opportunities. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Can we go to the next slide, maybe?
Of course.
Awesome. So yeah, networking anxiety, guys. I mean, completely normal. Like I said, it is a part of that the job hunting process nowadays, right? So like I said, practice makes perfect. The more you can put yourself out there, whether it's virtual or in person, the more comfortable you're going to find yourself being, and the more opportunities you're going to find yourself presented. So we can go ahead with some tips to help prepare you or ease those anxieties, right? So first one being, just research the individual or that company that you're going to go speak with. That can always make a world of a difference because now you have you have a little bit more information on how to approach them or maybe how to start that conversation. Another one is initiate contact, right? Like we talked about, smile and wave like the penguins of Madagascar. No, but just be very approachable. Prepare questions as well. Like you said, having nothing to talk about. So if you research in advance and you can, form some great questions to spark that conversation, that would really help. And then just ask them for advice, be genuine, ask them what do they like about their job or how did they get there. I always am really impressed when I'm asked that question at different career fairs because, like Meg said, people love to talk about themselves, and I love to talk about how I got to Alevo, the different opportunities and journeys that I took to get here to help people. So I think that's an amazing opportunity right there. And then finally, just thank them, right? You want to thank them and follow up with them afterwards. That's always really important. It shows great manners, just shows that you're approachable, professional. And then whether it's following up through having their information from a card, you can use their email, a phone call, whatever they're most comfortable with. All right. And so make sure to utilize career services, right? You want to make sure to receive quick feedback on resumes or cover letters. That's always a great opportunity. Because the more eyes on your resumes and cover letters, it can only get better from there, right? So career peer advising is also an awesome opportunity. It'll help you gain foundational information through quick 15-minute sessions. 15 minutes can go a long way for you. Career path advising is another awesome opportunity. After meeting with these career peer advisors, you can get referred to maybe another career path counselor, or you can maybe be presented different opportunities with connections or networks that they have that you didn't quite know about. Also utilize the career services website. That's where I mentioned where you can find about different events going on, whether it's a career fair, maybe they're hosting an employer to talk about different opportunities, similar like today, or maybe you can just learn something about how to make yourself more marketable as an employee. And then finally, Handshake, right? Visit Handshake. Shout out to Handshake. We use that so much. We're always sending out different opportunities there. So check us out there as well. But visit Handshake to see relevant job postings. It's such a great tool to use. I wish I had it in college because it's just a central hub, almost like social media for all these different kinds of opportunities. All these different employers are on there. So you can speak directly one-on-one to, someone from these different employers and really get that connection going. All right, I'll
All
pass.
right, you can, yeah, question and answer. Thank you, Oscar. If you find a Levo on Handshake, you can even speak directly to Oscar. So, but yeah, I will just piggyback real quick is that I unfortunately did not use the career services as much as I should have. I think when I was an undergrad, I just didn't know it existed, and I want to just like shout them out because it's an amazing resource on college campuses. I mean, there's actually so many resources on colleges that are free. I'm putting that in quotes, of course, but like you're there, you're paying your tuition, and these are value adds to your academic experience. And so take advantage of it. When you graduate college, like you will have to pay to get someone to review your resume. So take advantage of all the services that your Career Services Center offers. So question and answer, you can ask specifically to Oscar or myself, or if you have questions about the Career Center or any of the events coming up, Diana's still here. You could put your questions in the chat and we can just jump in and answer as we go. How long should you wait before writing a follow-up, and what kinds of things should you address in a follow-up?
Yeah, I can take this
Yeah,
one, Meg.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
either
definitely.
one. Go for it, Oscar.
Yeah, so I mean, usually I would say you can reach out to them the next day. That meeting is so fresh in both of your guys' minds, so they'll remember you. And what kinds of things should you put in that follow-up is definitely a greeting, hi, my name is, you want to do a little introduction of yourself, and then refer where you met them, right? Hey, we spoke at the career fair last Thursday. We talked about XYZ. It was so great to meet you. I'm really interested about, hearing more of the opportunities your company has to offer. Could we talk about them? Just giving them that opportunity to reach back out to you, maybe start that great conversation, that great networking opportunity, and maybe it could even lead to, a job. Who knows?
Exactly. I concur, Oscar. Like making sure to have something in there that like sparks, like he said, like a reason for the conversation to continue. Or it could be like you could let them know, like, I will be back up in your area in a couple months. I'll reach back out, like letting them know that you will follow up with them again whenever, if there is a job opening and I see one, I'll reach out to you to see if you have any advice for me or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Oscar. Great question, Caitlin. What characteristics have stood out to you positively or negatively in your interviews with potential hires? So
Yeah.
I can share a little bit, like kind of what Oscar just said. I love when people come prepared with questions, and it doesn't have to be like, you know, very technical questions like what's your process on this, but really like wanting to, like when I see someone like interviewing the company as well, because it has to be a good fit back and forth. When they say something like Oscar said, like, what do you like most about your job? Or what are the like what's your biggest challenge on a day-to-day basis? Like it makes me know that they're really invested in wanting to make sure it's a right fit for them as well as a right fit for us. um and then obviously your regular, like be on time, be courteous, thank the person, follow up. Like I honestly, I think it might be like an old school mentality, but it's still really alive and well. Like I've interviewed some really wonderful people, and when I don't hear back from them, especially in the line of work that we're doing, I obviously think they're probably still a wonderful person, but like I want to know that for the line of work we're doing, that they're going to follow up with future possible connections that they make in their actual job.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to echo what you just said, Meg, especially just I think, being able to ask those questions, like you said, makes them seem so much more interested and invested in us, you know. Um, I love that when that happens. Some of the negatives, not necessarily negatives, but just your demeanor. I think, you can, especially in person, you can read someone's demeanor. So that demeanor and energy. I consider myself kind of a monotone person, but I can still have a great energy, right? And I can still, be very interested in what that is, that conversation we're having. So just make sure you're aware of that, because when I'm talking to someone and if they sound very unenthused, then I kind of feel like they're unenthused, and I'm like, whoa, what, are you really interested? Should we really have that conversation? So I think that's just something to keep in mind. Also, I always love thank you letters. I know that's really, really old school, but it doesn't have to be a letter, an email, just saying, hey, thank you for interviewing me. Thank you for taking the time out of your day. I always feel like that goes a really long way, and it keeps you at the forefront of their mind, right? So those are just two things that I think really stick out.
I agree, Oscar. Um, any other questions? Thank you, Alessandra. All right. If you have other questions specifically for Diana, there is the email right there, and phone number and website where you can find all of the amazing resources that they have right now. Do you recommend having a printed version of your resume? Yeah, I would say definitely at career fairs. Or in-person events, like having a one pager available to just give to someone. You can also like email it to that, like that's a great reason to like follow up with someone, like to follow up with the connection you made. But definitely I would bring some. We always collect resumes, and we then make them digital and put them into our system. But definitely.
Yeah, I second that.
Thank you, Chloe. Okay, what are your thoughts on multiple page resumes? I have a lot of thoughts on that, but I will make it quick. So, I think that digitally, like, you have your LinkedIn profile for like all of the specifics. I would say probably in most of like the stage that many of you are probably in your career, like you could have a one-page resume, or if it's printed, 1 and 2 page resume. But I read a lot of resumes in my life, and um, the the shorter, the sweeter is better because we're reviewing them quickly. And so obviously like having them, like I think more importantly than the how many pages is like the format, and if it's bulleted and there's white space. Like I used to try to like keep my resume to 2 pages, and I'd fill every little white space in to get all the information on there. But like remember, the reason for the resume is to get the interview. So you want to hook them, and then in the interview you can tell them all about the stuff in that white space that you didn't put in that white space. Um, how do you bring your resume to career fairs? Do you bring a purse with a folder? I would say just bring a folder. I think having a folder is perfectly fine. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anna.
Mhm.
All right. So, that was very fun. I enjoyed talking about networking. So we do want to share a little bit about Elevo and what we do. We have a lot of full-time jobs, and we hire, like I said, 2,500 part-time jobs every year. So we're throughout California. We'll go into a little bit more detail, but I don't have many programs right now near Santa Barbara, but we could be where your parents live if you go home during the summer. And if you're going to graduate soon and you move somewhere in California, we most likely have a position near you. So Elevo. So we always start with this, like, how do you say it? It's Elevo. We rebranded a couple years ago, and I think this was really hard for even our full-time staff. So it's Elevo. It means elevate in Latin. So we are elevating the youth of California. So quick little backstory of who our founders are. This is Nick and Chris. They were best friends from in Ireland when they were in elementary school, and they loved soccer. They loved what sports, specifically soccer, to them did for their enthusiasm and wanting to go to school. And just they really realized at that young age how important like mentorship and their coaches and that camaraderie with each other was to their, you know, their whole self, which helped them in school as well. So this is Nick and Chris as adults. This is them at one of our company trips to Hawaii. We went there about a year and a half ago. They came out here, 17 years ago. They just started running soccer camps, and it turned into sports for learning. And then it grew into Elevo, especially after the pandemic, when many kids were, including all of you, I'm sure, were studying remotely, especially at that young age. Like, one of the biggest reasons for school is to actually just like learn those life skills. And, in kindergarten and first grade, how to share with each other and how to like resolve conflicts on your own. And so it turned into Elevo, and we teach social and emotional learning skills specifically through sports and movement, but also many other types of enrichment activities. So it's a great, great company. All right, I'll
Awesome.
pass it to you, Oscar.
So much, Meg. Yeah, an awesome company. This is our mission right here. We are really looking forward to transforming the well-being of students. That way they look forward to coming to school, right? That's our number one goal. That's our big motivation, and that's what we stand for. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide, Meg. All right, and so we're a label, right? So what do? We provide a range of in-school and out-of-school, so OST for short, programs and services. So think before, during, and after-school programs. So we're really designed to support the physical, mental, and academic well-being of all students. We work through really K through 6 major, mostly elementary schools, but for almost 2 decades, we've partnered with districts across California to meet their unique programming and staffing needs. So if you check out to the right, you can see some of our stats and an awesome heat map of where we're at. We're all throughout the state of California in over 1,400 different schools across 130 districts, and we have over 2,400 coaches to help us out with our amazing, our amazing vision. So who are we? We have a video to show you guys. We'll pull it up right here for you. Just a quick little 2-minute video of who we are and what we do.
I'm worried my tech didn't work because I think I might have just shared one screen, but we'll see. Let me know quickly, Oscar. Can you see it?
We are
You can see it? Okay, perfect.
Elevo. Our mission is to transform the well-being of students so they look forward to coming to school. We provide a range of in-school and out-of-school time programs and services designed to support the physical, mental, and academic well-being of all students. Our programs provide opportunities to learn, move, and thrive together beyond classroom walls. For almost 2 decades, we've partnered with districts across California to meet their unique programming and staffing needs. We are proud to collaborate with schools, families, and communities to lift our students up, prepare them for success, and cheer them on together. Here's how we do it. Our turnkey expanded learning solution offers students new ways to learn, create relationships, be active, build skills, and have fun. Our signature ELOP model includes thematic enrichment lessons, homework coaching and academic support, rotational sports, and SEL-infused games and activities. We created Elevo School Day to support students and educators alike during recess, lunch, and PLC or professional development release time. School day features either our rotational sports curriculum or our SEL-infused physical activities and games. Join the growing number of districts partnering with Elevo this school year. It's time to shape the next generation together. Elevo. Engage, inspire, thrive.
All right. Are we back on the presentation? Cool. Thank you. Okay, so it's a little easier sometimes to just show a video of what we do. But just highlighting, we don't just play with the kids, which I'm sure they would love, and I'm sure our coaches would too, but we have an amazing curriculum. You can see over here, this is just like a snippet of what our coaches have access to. On the right-hand side, like every week is a different SEL skill. So grit, focus, energy, courage, and we build a curriculum and games around those words. They're inclusive, age-appropriate activities. So if we're doing something about grit, which is always my favorite. With my kindergarten, I talk about grit a lot. That activity for the kindergarten students is definitely going to look different than our 6th grade students. It's built on the Castle framework. So if there's any psychology students in the room, you might know what I'm talking about. And aligns also with the California PE and health standards. So we created it alongside of the state of California, and all of our curriculum is accredited. So what makes an Elevo coach? Oftentimes Oscar and I work with, I'm checking my time here, we got a couple minutes. We work with, students in kinesiology or psychology education, but honestly, like it expands beyond that. Like we know that being a good coach and a good mentor, you could be a computer science or studying econ. You can be in any major. If you want to give back to the community, if you want to be a mentor and have a really fun job, like being a Elevo coach is awesome. So it's built on the mentorship foundation, which like our founders, Chris and Nick, realized at a young age was really important. And our coaches, we don't just throw you out on the field, right? If you are studying computer science, we don't expect you to know how to do, wrangle in a classroom of 25-year-olds. We provide a lot of training on how, processes, as well as our curriculum, but just behavior management and how to be a really good teacher. So the pay range is $18 to $23 per hour. It just depends on the district, but it's awesome. Oftentimes our coaches, we hire internally. So it's a great stepping stone, but we also, if you graduate and you're looking for a full-time job, we're a full business. We're on like the talent acquisition side, but we have a technology department. We have an operations department. We have a marketing department. Like we have every kind of department that any company would need to survive. So if you are interested in learning more, you could scan this code here, or Oscar can put the link in the chat right now. It's just a quick little survey. It actually comes directly to Oscar and myself, and we'd be able to provide you more information. Or if you want to have an informational interview, we are happy to do that as well. All right, so also you can take a picture of this, but this is our emails, and also find us on LinkedIn. We're happy to connect. All right, thank you so much.
We thank you so much. We're so lucky to have wonderful employer partners like you guys. So, I know you love hiring gauchos. So all you gauchos, think about that. It's a great, great opportunity. So anyway, Megan and Oscar, thank you so much. We really appreciate you guys.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Take care, everybody.